Hello everyone. Wish you a lovely morning and a great afternoon. This is Anusha, your host for the webinar today. I had been a part of learning industry and GQ family for 12 years now and currently work in the capacity of Vice President. On behalf of Philips and GQ, I'd like to extend all of you a very warm welcome and thank you for your time and attention today. Before we get started, a few housekeeping notes. The recording of this webinar will be shared over an email with all of you and will also be available on GCube's website for later reference. Second, we have some very interesting polls lined up during the course of the webinar, so do participate. And most important, we have planned good 15 to 20 minutes towards the end of the webinar to address all your questions around performance support. So please pour them in via the chat panel available on GoToWebinar and we shall take them up. All right, now time for some quick introduction about GCube. For over 15 years now, GCube has been operations across various industries. With that footprint across the globe, we pride ourselves in building learner-appropriate strategies which stand tall on the strong base of technology and research. Our learning solutions can be broadly categorized into learning design, content digitization, and learning delivery platform. Overall, more than 350 organizations have trusted our services, and that has helped attain the title of Learning Innovations Leader and experience a substantial growth year on year. Time and again, the learning industry has recognized our out-of-box solutions through a series of awards. To sum it up, we have received more than 55 awards in last 4 years, some of them being Fastest 500 Growing Company by Deloitte, that too 5 years in a row, repeated gold, silver, and bronze accreditations by Brandon Hall, and one of the top e-learning content providers by the e-learning industry for 2015. The list is much longer. In addition, GCube CEO Mr. Manish Gupta has been recognized as top 10 e-learning movers and shakers for APAC region. Shall you seek any further information about GCube, please do visit our website and drop us an inquiry there. Now is the time to introduce our chief speaker for today, Mr. Hans Ramaker. I had been working with Hans for 4 years now, and he is the man behind some of the greatest learning innovations in Philips University. GCube has been very fortunate in supporting him to execute the same. Today, Hans is Senior Director, Learning Innovations, and is responsible for introducing new learning technologies within Philips to make learning more efficient and reduce the overall cost of training. Hans is joining us from Philips headquarters in Eindhoven, the Netherlands today. Hans, it's an absolute pleasure to have you with us today and learn more about your experience in implementing performance support solutions for Philips workforce. Thank you so much for joining in, and the stage is all yours now.
Thank you, Anusha, for the introduction. We will split our screens. So, and welcome for all the participants in this session, where I will explain how we introduce performance support into our organization. I will not show you performance support systems or platforms. It is more the way of thinking how to introduce performance support within our community. Philips is a global organization. Philips has 3 segments. We are active in the healthcare market, in lighting, and in consumer lifestyle. And we have currently around 108,000 employees. With a sales of 21 billion and active in more than 100 countries, this is an organization which is 124 years old now. So you can imagine there is a lot of knowledge, and there is a lot of people, and there is a lot of need to share knowledge, and also the need for performance support. The examples that I will show you today are mainly from the lighting organization. Philips Lighting offers solutions for indoor, in homes and shops and offices, schools and hotels. We have outdoor lighting solutions, street lighting, car lights. We light also buildings in cities, as you can see on one of the images, sport arenas, and we have some special lighting solutions for horticulture and water purification, and some other things that we are working on. So before we start, I'd like to have a small poll. Anusha?
Yes. So from here on, Hans will be talking more about how he defines performance support and how he has implemented performance support for Philips. But we would want to understand from our dear audience today on how do you exactly define performance support. You see four options on the screen here. Please feel free to select one or more, and you have exactly 30 seconds to answer the poll. All right, that's interesting. Hans, you should be able to see the poll results in the polls window there.
I cannot see it because I'm looking at my own presentation currently. As presenter.
Oh, okay, all right, all right.
Okay. So, to start.
All right.
Oh.
Okay, so we have some very interesting results right here. Almost 85% of our audience has chosen option A. We have 27% audience who has selected option B. We have 18% who has option C and 24% who says option D here. So Hans, that's quite an interesting mix. Instructor-led training, e-learning, workshops, or the training designed to educator learning with middle knowledge. I understand that these are really not performance support solutions. How would you define performance support?
Yeah, performance support in the world and online and in events, there are different definitions for it and how people see it. I think that in the whole world, people are still searching how to do performance support in the best way. And it depends on what your target group is and how they need support to be able to do their job. And so these definitions are different. And in today's session, I'll show you how we have given meaning to performance support in our organization.
All right, you can proceed with the presentation. Thanks for that, Hans. Yeah.
You're welcome. So, I start by the 5 moments of need, which Bob Mosher is aware of. When do you need knowledge? When do you need learning? That is, of course, first of all, if you want to know something for the first time. Yeah? And if you want to learn more, it's very good to have a kind of formal learning. And formal learning can be an e-learning, classroom sessions, tests, reading books, reading articles on the internet. All things that collects knowledge which you can put and store in your brain. However, it comes at hand at the moment that you perform a task. And then it depends on your skills if you are able to do it. And sometimes when you have learned something, you try to apply it. And then you say, well, I don't remember exactly how it is, and then you want only a small nugget of information that helps you to continue your task. If something goes wrong, a very good example, you make a mistake, the best learning moments there are. Then you need something how to solve it. And of course, if things change. And I can say in our organization, things change really fast. Here you have an overview of what happens in our organization. So what you can see here in this bar is on the back you see here the speed of developing new lighting solutions. And in the front you see the amount of time that people spend to learn on these new solutions. For instance, to be able to sell it. Now as an example, in 1990 we created 8 new lighting solutions. And what we did is collect all the salespeople in one location and gave them, there was no PowerPoint, so there were overhead sheets. And we gave them 8 overhead sheet presentations of 1.5, 2 hours about these new 8 products. And then we sent them home, the salespeople say, go home and sell it. And you know what? It happened. They were able to sell the new solutions. Last year, 2014, we created more than 150 new lighting solutions because light has changed into LED lighting these days. And so we are able to do a lot of new solutions and new lighting parts, and we deliver that. And we know that it is not possible in each year, once a year, bring everyone together and give them 150 PowerPoint presentations. No, we do it once each quarter, and they get 30 PowerPoint presentations and also see the products, and then we say, go home and sell it. And you know what? Nothing happens. And I found out when I started here 4 years ago that we have wonderful lighting solutions for outdoor, wonderful for indoor, and I went to the research department to experience that. And I saw really nice things, and so where can I see it? And they said, well, you have to go to sales. And so I went to sales and said, well, these nice new solutions, where are they installed? Where can I see it, how it works? And I heard from them, well, these latest solutions, we are not able to sell it because we don't know how it is. We don't know how to sell it. We don't know what the products can do because it's so much information. And so what we see right now is that we create a lot of new solutions, and that there is a huge struggle to sell these products. And therefore, it's not nice to have another solution to sell it, but we are forced to introduce performance support and help these sales guys to sell the new lighting solutions. So if you look to the whole structure, here you have the 5 moments of need again. You need something as a learner. If you are new to the field, then of course you need a lot of information. And formal learning is very suitable for that, because in no time you get a lot of information which you can store in your brain, and you can learn more later on to go more in depth and then try to apply it. Now what you see is that especially in the beginning, formal learning is really suitable to do it. But also what you see here in the green area is that the social sharing of information, asking people, that is also very helpful to get the right knowledge. And so we have in our organization a nice social platform where we share that information with each other. And then you try to apply. And what you also see from when you try to apply, that you learn the most by doing your job. So you do your job, you make mistakes maybe, and you learn from that. And you get better and better the longer that you are in that job. And then if things change, you experience that for yourself, and you can solve problems. And while you do that, you learn from it. And you see here that it is very good to learn while you are doing a job. But of course you need the basics, the knowledge to be able to do that. Now, if we look to formal learning, and maybe you have seen this graph before, then we have to do with the forgetting curve. And the forgetting curve was a research from Herman Ebbinghaus in 1885. Yeah, 1885. And it shows that after 1 hour, people already forget after a lecture more than half of the information. And if you are after a month, this chart shows that only 20% of the knowledge will remain after 1 month. And I thought, okay, let's check that in my own organization. And so we did a test. And we found out that in our organization, after 1 month, people only knew 6.7%. And the rest was gone of the knowledge. And so I thought, well, maybe I tested it wrong. And I checked it with other organizations, and they confirmed that the average is now 7%. So after 1 month, you remember 7% of what you have learned, unless, so if you learn it in a formal way, And if you learn it and you practice it immediately, then it is a different story. Now, we also did a research with Manfred Spitzer about what do people do in classroom sessions. And so if you have a classroom session, then you see that from the 774 students, almost 200 are on Facebook, almost 400 are writing text messages, and you can see how many percentage of the students are doing something else. They eat, they drink, they listen to music, they email, they work on their homework for the next day maybe, they talk over the phone even, and you might have experienced that also in your own organization. If you have classroom sessions, especially with salespeople or service engineers, they have to answer the phone call from their customers, and they will hop out of your class, hopefully, and then answer their phones and come back. And they want to do their email, most important. So if they come in the morning, the first thing, open their laptop, do their email. Now you can do two things to prevent that they are going to do other things. You can say to them, well, switch off your telephone and close your laptop. It doesn't make you very pleased by your participants. Or you leave it open, and a lot of data and information will pass their brains and they don't absorb really what you are trying to learn them. It's even worse if you do online work. So online learning, for instance, or an online test. Then you see that people even more do other things. And so informal learning, what we have seen also here in the organization, is very hard to get new information stick. Time for another poll. How much of your learning and training, yes, sorry.
Thank you, Hans, you're doing great. So now that we all understand the significance of performance support and why it is unavoidable for any organization to have that in place, we would want to understand from you on how much of your training and learning strategy includes performance support and job aids. So you see 5 options there that you don't use performance support at all. If it's 10 to 25%, 25 to 50%, 50 to 75%, I'll be happy to see the response there. And that you're exclusively doing performance support. So your time starts now. You'll have 30 seconds to answer. Fifteen more seconds. All right, here we go. So again, a wonderful mix of results. Almost 29% of our audience says that they do not use much performance support solutions. 26% is doing 10 to 25% as the part of their learning and training strategy. Another 26% say that almost 25 to 50% of the training strategy includes performance support solutions. As we move further up in the graph, my participation is going low, so 11% doing 50 to 75% and only 9% saying that they exclusively do performance support solutions only. So that's again quite interesting analysis, Hans. Industry organizations are taking performance support pretty seriously, that means. And now Hans would talk about on what should be the ideal mix of performance support as a part of your training and learning strategy as per different audience profile. Hans, over to you.
Thank you, Anusha. So, as I see the time flies, and you will remember only 7% at the end of it, I will go a little bit quicker through my slides to show you the real examples. So first of all, this is an overview that I got from Charles Jennings last year. It shows how people learn. And it is 70-20-10. 70 means through experience, by doing things. Through others is social, talking to your manager, talking to your colleagues. And formal learning is reading books, e-learnings, classroom sessions, and that kind of things. And you see that high performance learn the most through experience. And highly innovative and flexible organizations, they have less formal learning than the high performance, and you see that also 40% is learned by talking to others in your organization and 55% by doing your job. And regulated organizations, you see the figures here below. Now, let me see if I can get to the next slide. Oh, sorry. So now, this is an overview how I think that people learn. So you have learners, new people in your organization who needs to ramp up very quickly in their knowledge, and formal learning is really suitable. And in fact, it is the orange line in top that shows how suitable it is. It's very high, but the more you become a practitioner and even expert, formal learning is less important. And performance support, which is the blue line, for a learner in the field, it's not so helpful because they don't have any knowledge. So they start the knowledge, then work in their field, get experience, and become a high performer. Now, if you look to the practitioners, then you see where they learn from. They learn indeed also from formal learning, but also a lot from social learning and by performing the task, and also in performance support. That is what they help. In the middle you see this box, and that is in fact the certification that might help to get recognition for a certain level that you have. And certification is not only knowledge certification, but more important is skills certification. Prove that you are able to do this task. And your manager or your colleague can give feedback to that and prove that you are able to do a certain task, and then you are certified. Now, if you look in your own organization, and also here in Philips, what is the number of people that are a learner, and what is the number of people that are a practitioner, and how high is the percentage of experts in your organization? Now, you see that most of the people in my organization, also for external customers, are practitioners. They are working in a certain field for a longer time already. And so, therefore, I think that we have to focus on that biggest group first, instead of going to the learners, what you see in many HR organizations. There you focus on the new people coming in. We focus more on the practitioners. Now, if you look how practitioners learn, then you can see that it is informal learning. You can share cases, for instance, cases of best practices. You can update with new information. You can use an e-learning, but only update small modules. Create a knowledge database and certification to prove that you are able to do a certain task. Also, communities and social learning is important. Workshops, simulations that you can use, real-time simulations, and practice things online. Learning by doing. And also, workflow integrated information might help them to do their job. So, again, to this chart from Charles Jennings, if I look in my own organization, in Philips, then what we see that the Lighting University is providing, they are providing 90% formal learning, e-learning, books, articles, and so on. And we have also social platform, which a lot of people use, but for learning we use it only 8%, and for performance support, learning by doing, you see that we, as a university, we do not focus on that area. I say, well, you do it in your own area, we don't support you there. We have just a few examples. In the coming years, we will focus to change that percentage and go more to the social learning and experiential learning, because we have just seen that formal learning does not work. It is too slow. In 1990, we developed, for instance, the TL tube, and this TL tube we could sell that for 15 years, and then we got the first change. It was a different coating inside. The products that we create today, from moment of delivery to the first customer till the end of the last customer that we deliver, is only 9 months. So, and we have 150 products. So if we start today with a new product, then in 9 months it's over. And so we have to be much quicker in sharing information to our salespeople and to our researchers and to our technical staff. And so we will move more to the social and experiential learning. So I'll come now to the area where I'll show you some of the practices that we did. And not on the platform, but more on the learning itself. We look at awareness training. How do you do software application training? How do you do process training? Sales training. We have an awareness quiz, installation training for lighting installations, and an end user training, and I'll show you that how that works. Let's start by the first one, awareness training. And we got, as an example, a request from our design department. They came with a slide deck of PowerPoint slide deck of 187 slides, and they asked me, can you make an e-learning and a test? I asked them, why do you want an e-learning and a test? And they said, well, what we do in design is really important, and all people in Philips should know what we do, because it's really important. Of course it is really important, especially for the person who came with that request. But what do people do with that? They would do the e-learning, they do the test, they pass, and they forget. After a month, they don't remember. And the question is, do they do an e-learning? When did you do an e-learning the last time? I asked the requester, and she said, well, she didn't remember. She said, well, last year I had to do one because it was forced to do so. And that was that. And other e-learnings they don't do. And I said, okay, we should make something else. And so I went to G-Cube, met Anusha, and asked Anusha, can you come up with a solution that would help us bring the information more in time? Anusha, can you tell a little bit how that went?
Of course, Hans, that's my favorite topic. So, so when Hans came to us with a PPT of almost 140 slides, and it had beautiful images, it had all kind of information about Philips lighting products across different sectors, what works in automobile, what works in fashion industry, what would work in a healthcare industry, so on and so forth. After understanding that the audience profile could be a widespread, perhaps everybody who's associated with Philips or somebody who's even looking to buy Philips products, we're not really looking at any kind of device dependability here. The solution needs to be available from a full-blown desktop laptop to an iPhone 6 Galaxy smartphone, and then the information has to be there at the moment of need. I'm a salesperson with Philips Lighting. I'm going to meet suggest a solution to a healthcare client. If I go through an e-learning course and I would have skipped what kind of different innovation products Philips has in the sector, I came up with an idea to develop inspirational cards. It's a fully responsive HTML5 application that could be accessed via browser or as a native application on iOS and Android device. I go in there. Hans, you can pull up the screen with the cue cards in there. And as I access this application, I get to see what is the different effects that light can do in people. Light can make your space more personal. It can make you feel cooler to warmer. Or on the right side that you see here, you can select different spaces. What can lighting do differently in a healthcare space? What can lighting do in a home environment? And the moment we select any choice, all the information associated with that card comes up very quickly. Within 3 clicks, we get that. So that's a challenge which Hans gave to us. How can I give information to the learner within 3 clicks? And this is how we did it. So right from the moment you launch that application, you tap 3 times and you have all cue cards, all the information around the product in an industry, around an effect right there in front of you, which worked wonders. We've already won 2 awards from Linux as a Platinum Award. Yeah, Hans, if you want to talk about how users are taking it.
Yes. So this application, they have that on their mainly on their tablets, because all the salespeople have tablets and they use that, and internal staff is also using that on the laptop. So what they do to get inspired, at the moment that you meet something or that you say, okay, I want to know what can I say. So we have here user stories in there. So we can go to how light affects people, okay, or how light affects different spaces. So we can go to from the space area, and it's a little bit slow because I'm also having a link with you all. And what you see here is you can select a home, for instance, and say I want to see what can I do in my home. You can select and unselect certain topics here, and then say, okay, what is in there for me? And if you select one, then you can see a story about how that influenced someone or what it did. It's very inspirational, and even I have seen a lot of this information. When I got the application, I used it myself. You really get proud, for me, on the lighting organization, but also what it all can do. It has also, as a side effect, caused that I also have now all kind of fancy lights in my own house. I don't know if my wife liked that all, but I like these colors and change the colors automatically. Now you can learn it from this app. So people use it. There's no force that you must go through all these cards. You just use it when you want. Okay, so that is one example. Let's go to the presentation. Another one is that we have a kind of quiz for our internal staff, where we, for instance, the new strategy, or also on lighting, where we had these certifications, passport and fundamental certifications. These questions that we have, and also for our strategy, are in a kind of mobile app, where people can play against each other. And so you can invite your colleague and say, let's play the game. And you get points for that, and of course you see all the reporting out of it yourself. It's really funny to do it. It's a question and you have to give the right answer. They are pretty complex. It's not an easy game. But if you give a wrong answer, you see what the right answer was. And by seeing those right answers, you learn from it. And so to share that knowledge in a funny way, we use now a quiz. At this moment, thousands of people are playing against each other. And what we did is we started on a very basic game, and every time we add a little bit more functionality, so we keep people interested to do this. Another way of sharing information, and they can do it while they grab a cup of coffee. You know, it's always possible to do it in between. To answer those 3 questions, you get 3 questions, then the other player is, and they start to play the game when you have time. An example of software application training. Now, you know there are a lot of performance support solutions for software. We have a big new tool that's called Team Tool. And with Team Tool, we wanted that not a class where people go to and practice, and then you go home and you have to do a certain task. And I don't know if you ever followed such a class, but then you start and then you say, okay, now I don't know exactly how it is. I don't remember. Now what we are doing is put that information at that spot. And this is also made by G-Cube. Really great support to make this. And what you see is here in the top, you have program managers, so the task that you have. And below the task that this person has. We were not able to put it automatically to our people management system, and so now people have to click twice. First click, who are you? And the second click is what task are you doing? Anusha, can you explain how you created this?
Absolutely, Hans, with pleasure. So yes, when we got to know about the team application and the business of this application that goes from a program manager to a project manager to a team leader to a project sponsor, we're looking at a fully loaded application with n number of workflows and each workflow applicable as per the role of the user. So again, if we would have gone through the conventional way, we would have looked around 11 to 12 hours of formal training, simulation rich, that all can be handled. But the challenge was, would I remember those workflows? I'm a project manager. I have, I need to access or use only 60% features of this application. Why should I go through the entire 10 to 11 hours of formal training? So what Hans and we together did is we strategized and we broke down into identified which workflows applicable to which kind of roles. As you see on the table right here, you would see program managers, all the defined workflows which is applicable within a role are listed here. Before user can select a role, there was some generic information about the tool. So what does the tool do? What is the significance of these tools? So this was kind of a context setting. The user will select its roles and the course will, and the complete structure will narrow down to only the applicable workflows as per the selected role. I can quickly navigate. Okay, I want to see the introduction. I want to set up a program structure. I want to do this task. So I can jump in and jump out quickly, get to the information again within the thing. The video will play 1.5 minutes to 2 minutes in duration, and I can get the information really quickly again. After this section is over, there's another section which talks about reports applicable to all and tips and tricks, certain things that you need to remember about Team 2. One extra milestone, and again brainchild of Hans, what the idea that he came up with, we have put these workflows as a part of team application. So imagine I'm working on the live application, I'm trying to create a project structure, a program structure. I get stuck. I need not log into a different learning management system, find out the course, then find out the workflow. It only take what, minimum 10 to 15 minutes of my time. So I have this link of 1.5 individual broken simulations, broken objects right there on the tool. I click on there, I view the video how that is done, and here I go. So again, the solution was very well appreciated by all kind of people because the information was handy. Team absorption within Philips became a huge success, and we are looking at developing further solutions on this line now. Hans, back to you.
Thank you, Anusha. So this is really step-by-step approach. If you don't know and how to do a certain task, you can find it immediately. And it is not in an LMS. You don't have to go to the learning page, find this course or module or so. It is installed directly on that place. So if you open the application, you also have the link to this solution. So you see it is pretty simple to do that, and really information at the moment of need. Another one is here a process request that we get. Also an e-learning for measuring lights. So we have a wonderful standard that we have developed to measure the output of a light bulb and how the light is sent out and what the temperature is and so. So we can do a full measurement on that. And we have a huge team here who is doing that, and it is pretty complex. And so they say, well, we need an e-learning and a test, as most people ask, because they are used to that. And I say, okay, what do you want to achieve? And they say, well, we have a new process, and we need that all the people who are doing this know that process. So instead of making a formal learning, we created this platform, this module that has all the steps in the process in it. On the left you see introduction, measurement, request intake. Someone brings a light bulb. A sample intake, then the validation of the system, perform correction, execute measurements, and the reporting at the end. That are all the steps in the process. Now what we do, you can use this as a learning for new learners and go through all the videos. This is a video that we made, and you can also click directly to that part that you need. So you are doing the measurement and suddenly you say, oh, I don't know how to correct this anymore. Then you can click there and you can see it. Now mainly we used video. So on the right side you see here the video, and we took the video from the expert in our organization. No fancy expensive video graphics done. Just took some interns with their fancy mobile phones and say, can you record what happens? So I brought those two, and we say, okay, can you show what happens? And this specialist is telling exactly what he does. And these videos are just cut in parts, and that is a kind of small video. I think the average is 1 minute, where he explains what is done. If you need the details of it, there is a possibility to go directly to a kind what we call e-learning. It looks like an e-learning where it says in step by step, okay, this is how it is done. Click that button, do this, do that. So all the information is in one module. This module is not in the LMS. The module is on the computers that they use in the measurement room. So this is that also all the people who are working there and they have to change their process, they can start immediately by looking step by step in this model. Another is the sales training. I explained in the beginning how difficult it is if you have 150 new solutions to sell it. The sales guys are really, they are capable to sell, but they are really not able to store all that new information in their brains. And so what we did is that we created a module which has a few questions, the questions that you should ask to your customer. It is not about you go to your customer and you have some of these light bulbs and you say, look, these are the light bulbs that we have, and they are really good and high quality and give nice light. How much do you want to have? That is not the way how we sell our solutions. We ask more what our customer want to achieve, and find out, do you need energy reduction? Do you want to have a short payback time? So we have a lot of those kind of questions. A lot, I think around 20. If we know a few of those, if we have a few of those questions and answer, we are able to automatically predict which solution would fit best. So what was happening, people would go to a customer, the sales guys, and then say, okay, and have a lot of questions, 300 something questions, and then with all the answers they came back to our office, and together with research and development and marketing, they were sitting together and say, okay, this is what the customer wants, but what is the best solution that we can offer? And then they figured that out and say, well, maybe this, and then the presentation was created, and then we will call the customer and say, hello customer, we thought about your request, and we want to make an appointment to show you our solution. And then very often the customer would say, that's very nice. By the way, I went on the internet, I googled and found some information at your competition, and they can do this. Are you able to do this as well? And they would say, well, we don't know, we call you back. And between the first conversation and really the presentation time, it always took at least a week. By this solution, you fill in a few of these answers from the customer, and it gives you the solution. And what you see on the right side are these circles, and these circles that are the features and the benefits of our product. So this is the Ambilight solution. These bigger circles, that means that the customer is really interested in those circles. You can click on it and you get here an explanation on the left with a live video or a video from a customer, a recorded one, or you can speak directly to an expert, or you can open here below a calculator. This is street lighting for the length of the street, and calculate how much energy will be saved by using this solution. So all the information that normally someone has to put in his brain is now offered by this solution. So that saves a lot of formal learning time. And if something changes, we put it in this application and everyone is up to date immediately. What we have seen is that customers like it also very much, because they can see immediately what the effect will be, what the solution is. And very often they say, this is a great solution. Can you join me to the board of directors and show it to them, because I needed to show what your solution is. And so we are directly to the top management to sell our product. So this is such a solution that gives you the information at the moment that you need it. No learning upfront. Another, let me see how's with that. Another solution is this solution. This is the last one, Anusha, that I will show, because I see that the time is flying. This is a solution that we just finished. We have a new lighting solution for retail. I don't know, because it's very new, if it is already on the internet, but okay. Maybe I'm not allowed to tell this, but this retail lighting solution is a low-cost solution which you can install in a supermarket, for instance, and it will schedule all your lighting automatically. Normally you give classes to technicians, to your salespeople, and so on, and to the customer. What we did is we made a module where everything is in there, also the simulation. And what you see is that we have animations in there to demonstrate how to install. We have the service manuals in there. You can read it. So we did not create out of the service manuals a new lecture materials. Very often in these classes you say, well, in the manual it says this, but it's better to do this. We don't have it. We use the manual. The manual should be okay. And we have a simulation here that simulates a real the system. And then we have some use cases which you can use to practice yourself. Let me see if I can show this to you. Yeah, there it was. Yeah, Storewise it is called. What you see in here is the display of Storewise, and what you see here in the left top is the shop. So the shop is dark because the lights are off. If I want to switch it on, you should tap the screen. Oh, and then you have to fill in the password. Now if you don't know the password, here in top you find all the manuals, the quick starter guide, you find the system manual, user cases, you find the passwords. Oh, that's great. So then you can read the passwords for that. You also see some promo video, you see how to install it, how to connect the network, and so on. Now let's first switch the lights on. So I enter the system and I say all lights on, and it works exactly as the real system. What you see is that the lights are on. See? So whatever you do, you can also see it here immediately how it is working. You can configure it, so all the data is there. And to show how an installation is done, for instance, here you see an example. This is how to connecting the controllers, and this is an animation that we have made. So everything is in this one module. This is hosted not in an LMS, this is hosted directly onto the internet. And so everyone can play with it. It's not available at this moment because it's new. So we are busy to place it on the internet, and then everyone can see it. So we do not train our internal staff, we also train our customers, because if customers play with it and learn it, then they also know what to ask, and they can see immediately whether they like this or not. So that's some of the examples that we create. Anusha, this is the end of my presentation. I see I'm over time already.
Hans, you were wonderful. We're almost nearing the end of the presentation, as Hans mentioned, and we'd like to just end with a quick poll, wherein we'll want to understand from our dear audience today on what has been your biggest challenge in implementing performance support. So in the previous poll, we heard some interesting observations. There's some, the performance support is already being practiced by a few of you. So the first performance support challenge that you implemented, perhaps, what was your biggest challenge? What is, if it did not succeed? Lack of right strategy, there was no buy-in from the management, you didn't get the expected results out of it, it worked absolutely well, or you have not implemented yet. So again, you have 30 seconds and you're free to choose either of these options. 15 more seconds. All right, here we go. So if I look at the poll results, we have 19%, as in 19% of our audience saying that they lacked the right strategy, 12% saying there was no buy-in from management, another 12% saying that they did not get the expected results, almost 15% were very happy with what they had done around performance support, so congratulations, and 42%, which is like the majority of our audience today, have not implemented it yet. So, Hans, what do you have to say about this? When you say that there was no buy-in from management, how easy, how tough was it for you to get buy-in from Philips management?
Yes, thank you, Anosha, for the question, and you know how it is here. Our organization is changing several times, and so also the management. And I can tell you, I went 5 times with the same story to the new manager, the top management in our organization, to explain what it is. And at a certain point I thought, okay, they are changing all the time, and they were really happy and say, well, great stuff and we should use it. But to implement it as a standard way of learning in your organization, it's a different story. And so what I found is just doing these kind of examples. So the best practices, and put them into our workflows, and then the people themselves say, wow, this is great, this is what we need. What I still find the biggest challenge now is from some countries is the change management of the practitioners. So the different way of learning, normally they say, okay, we do a course and a test and I can prove that I can do that and it is valid forever. No? And they need these certifications to show on which level they are. If we offer this, there's no learning, there's no certification. We help you to finish your job successful. And that change management globally through our organization, change in the way how we deliver learning, more based on skills, that is still for me a challenge. And so if someone of the listeners has some helpful information for me, that would be great. But I'm still working on that.
Great. Great. That was quite interesting observation. We have another related question here, Hans, from our audience today, who's asking how do we really track performance support because it's outside LMS. So most of the solutions that you displayed today, they are from they are usually implemented, they're not SCOM compliance. So how do you track that this thing is really working?
It depends a little bit per solution. So the solutions that the inspirational cards, that is not a learning module, and we don't need to track whether people use it or not. What we do is that we have a kind of community where people can give feedback, and once in a while we send a survey out to get feedback on the solutions that we deliver. We have a community, the Lighting University community, and we have Learning Innovations community created. And when we have something new, we share it through the whole organization, and people give feedback on that. So then we have some feedback. More important for one of the other solutions, for instance, the sales solution, is that we look at sales itself, and so to your skills. And we ask the managers, the people who are using our solutions, do you see a difference in their behavior and in their skills or not? And so we did some surveys about that and get feedback. We also did it to the salespeople themselves. And for the sales tool, 80%, 86% of the practitioners liked it and say, well, I sell more, but also 90% of the managers stated that. And so then you have your ROI of what you are doing. Do not measure that in the LMS. LMS measurements is on knowledge only.
Right, right. Very valid point there by Hans today. And of course, once you have all this data flowing in from the people themselves, their managers, that the solution is helping them, getting a buy-in from management won't be tough either. So awesome. Another question that we have from one of our attendee today is, what e-learning application tool are you using? Is it Articulate? Uh, Usually it all varies depending on what's the subject in hand, what is the deployment platform where users will be seeing it, what is the complexity of the subject which is being taught, and we pick up the right tool and technology accordingly. It's Storyline for Articulate Storyline, Captivate, HTML5. It could be anything. It could be a mix of different things to go on a single solution. Hans, what would you say on this?
Yes, I'm not a specialist in what tooling, but most of the things that we have is Storyline. And
Okay.
also you see that people use sometimes gaming engines to make something. Depends on what it is, exactly what you said.
Right, right, all right. So one question specific to you, Hans, that one of the audience has asked is, what challenge did you face in implementing performance support? That's quite interesting one. So what has been your, that's for you to answer, yeah.
Yeah, what I personally, um, um, the difficulty that there is that you are uh, you are, how do you say, spoiled by by going to school and have my lectures. You know, you have such a fixed way of thinking about how to learn that it is very hard to let that go and say, okay, that is not the way how you learn now anymore. So I had to look at young people. And also I'm active in universities that I also give lectures and see what these students are doing. And I saw in these lectures that I gave that people do all kind of other things. And my own son, my own kids, I looked how they study. It's totally different. And I thought, okay, this is not the way forward, especially not due to the speed of everything, you know. And then I looked to myself, and I studied electronics. I'm a hardware developer from origin. I used that knowledge. I studied for years, you know, and I used that knowledge only for 1 year. And suddenly I did all other things. I have my own companies, and I run the company. I never learned for that, and I was able to do it very successfully. And so all the things that I do is I learn the most from doing things. And so the biggest challenge is always to get away from that fixed thinking on how people learn.
Right, right. Very true, and very apt thing that you've said, Hans, today. All right, all right. Another question that we have from our audience today is, can we get a sample of inspirational cards? Of course, we'll get in touch with you and we can showcase you a sample of inspirational cards. So Hans, that's another accolade for us, huh?
Yeah, yeah, no.
The last question that we have on the table today is, do we design the solution as well along with developing the solution? Of course, very much so. The strategy can be designed, what kind of mix will go in there, what should be the technology pick, what should be the blend of different learning elements that will go in the solution. We design the strategy as the first part of the solution, and then we, of course, take care of, together with the technology team, put the strategy into practice and in a shape in there. All right, so that's all the questions that we have today. Any more questions, more than welcome. You can visit our website, you have the contact details, and you can drop us an inquiry there. And the recording of this webinar, as we mentioned at the beginning of the presentation, will be available on our website. All right. So thank you everybody for joining in and being such an attentive audience today. Hans, the presentation was fantabulous. I learned a great deal out of it, and thank you so much again for your time today.
You're very welcome, Anusha. Thank you for giving me the possibility to share my thoughts, and I hope it helps all the participants here in this webinar also to look in a different way, and I hope that I gave some interesting insights and ideas, also things that you can use in the future. Thank you.
Absolutely, absolutely. Great. Thank you all. We're signing off now. You have a great day ahead. Thank you.